A new Freedom of Information request has revealed something shocking about the Alberta government's new carbon tax. At the Rebel, we filed a request looking for any studies that the government had undertaken to demonstrate that their carbon tax and their climate leadership plan would actually reduce greenhouse gas emissions. We wanted to know if Rachel Notley's government, that government that likes to claim they are the sole defenders of fact-based decision-making, had actually based their decision to tax all life in Alberta on actual demonstrable facts. Now, this is the exact wording of the Freedom of Information request we filed. We asked the government to provide copies of any studies or analysis done on the impact on greenhouse gas emissions of Alberta's new climate change plan released November 22nd, 2015. So we filed that request on November 25th of last year. It took 11 months of searching, and guess what the search returned? Nothing. Not a single document, not a single study or analysis, nothing. The government's response is that a search of Alberta Environment record holdings has not identified any records relating to the subject of your request. The government, busy selling this wealth transfer and massive tax hike on being alive in Alberta, has no clue whether or not their tax hike designed to reduce greenhouse gas emissions will actually do a single thing to bring those emissions down. The government didn't even bother to do a study on it. But there's a reason for that. Even the NDP know that if they shut down all of the oil sands today, it won't matter one bit to global emissions levels. Canada is 0.1% of global emissions levels. That's all we are. We don't matter. We're hardly a drop in the bucket. The NDP couldn't do a scientific study. The results would be laughable. The NDP know the answer is ridiculous, too ridiculous to even ask about. And that's only talking about the environmental impact. But what's equally appalling is the NDP's lack of economic impact studies too, or their refusal to release them. Like when we filed a request to see the economic impact study of the carbon tax, we were denied it. And that same study was finally leaked to the Calgary Herald a few months later, showing that 15,000 jobs would be lost. Brad Wall asked Trudeau if he had any economic impact studies for his carbon tax, and Trudeau said no. At the Rebel, we asked for an economic impact study of the minimum wage. We saw in the emails we received back that the NDP hadn't studied the minimum wage hike either. They just haphazardly rammed it through because it's all about ideology. It's never about what's best for Alberta. And now I'm willing to bet the NDP stopped doing studies altogether, economic or otherwise, after the economic impact of the climate leadership plan was done and went wrong for them. The NDP learned there and now that the facts would never be on their side, so they just stopped pursuing the facts. If the NDP don't do these studies, the studies can't go wrong. They can't be searched. They can't be leaked. It's the only strategy the NDP have left now that we've been holding them to account on this sort of stuff, which actually says as much about the Rebel as it does about the NDP. It means we at the Rebel have been so effective at holding these destroyers to account that they are scared, hiding stuff and not doing stuff. It's also an admission that the NDP know that the facts just aren't on their side and they never will be. For the Rebel.media, I'm Sheila Gunreid. If you agree with me that Canada doesn't even produce enough emissions to matter on a global scale, go to stopthecarbontax.com and sign our petition.